And welcome everyone to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. The headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. With robot shops, electric vehicle factories, and rocket launch sites now open to visitors, we take a closer look at the takeoff of tech-driven tourism here in China. The U.S. Energy Information Administration projects that some Middle East oil production will remain offline all the way through next year due to the ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict. And the World Meteorological Organization reports that last month tied as the second warmest July on record. All right, as always, let's take a quick look first at the Chinese mainland markets where equities did close higher on this Wednesday. The Shanghai Composite Index gaining over 0.3% on the day. The Shenzhen component rose over north of 1%, while the Chinext Growth Board jumped by nearly 1.5% on the day. All right, now look at how regional markets performed and how Wall Street closed out overnight. Well, first up, China's inbound tourism has continued to rise this year, fueled by expanded visa-free policy and tax refund perks. In the first half of this year, China recorded nearly 23 million foreign visitor arrivals. That's up over 20% year on year, with visa-free entries accounting for nearly 78% of the total. The growing interest in China travel also fueled a boom in China shopping. Customs data from Beijing shows a surge in tourist spending, with the city's two international airports processing over 131,000 tax refund applications in the first 7 months of this year, marking a staggering 516% jump year on year. Well, Wall Street's main indexes slipped in choppy trading on Tuesday as losses in tech stocks weighed on sentiment. Meanwhile, from robot experience stores and new energy vehicle plans to rocket launch sites, China's technology is now evolved into a tourism offering that welcomes visitors, hands-on experiences, and social sharing. Now, this trend is redefining China travel and has grown into a lucrative industry. Our reporter has more.
This is a drone delivery station in Shenzhen, which attracts international tourists every single day.
So you just got your drone delivery?
Yes.
For the first time?
Yeah, for the first time, yes. I was super happy. Like, it's really nice experience to do it, and it's like China, it's living in a different world. It's super amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really good. We got an ice cream served by a robot, and we're seeing the pizzas delivered by drone. It's pretty cool.
Foreign arrivals in China surged over 20% on a yearly basis in the first half of this year. Growing numbers of overseas visitors travel to China not just for its historic heritage, but to witness the future. In Shenzhen, global visitors are being amazed by drone delivery, robot experiences, and more. At one flagship tech retail hub, Inno 100, foreign visitors could try various tech gadgets.
Wow, it's so fascinating. We came to Shenzhen to see all your innovation, and now we can live it. It's not only seeing it, we can live it here. So this is so exciting. That this would help in going up
So this
on the mountain. It's perfect in our country.
Wow.
In terms of the technology, it's very advanced, and I appreciate how they've designed the rooms to showcase the technology and allow for us to interact with it. It's very futuristic. There's so much. I was over at the other store over there as well, and I was playing with some of the instruments. I'm a musician myself. I also work remotely, so I'm sitting on my desk all the time, so I thought I would come over and try some of these massages, which felt really good.
And these spots are also part of a tech-themed tour launched by local Shenzhen travel agencies.
Our tech-themed tours are flying off the shelves. We kick off the itinerary at this showroom, where visitors get to test drone food delivery and self-driving taxis. Plenty of foreign travelers come to Shenzhen solely for this one-of-a-kind tech excursion.
Since February this year, our store has seen a sharp uptick in foreign visitors. Amid the summer peak season, we welcome 100 to 200 international tourists daily, pushing foot traffic to record highs. Visitors are most drawn to hands-on demos of 3D printers and exoskeleton robots.
Citing U.S. tech outlet Rest of World, tourists will pay up to $9,000 for in-depth tours of China's tech spots. Since 2023, a Shanghai bespoke travel firm, GI Open, has run group tech tours. Here, their guide is leading visitors to experience new energy vehicles and robots.
Really, really cool cars, really advanced cars. In America, you only really see Teslas on the road, so it's cool seeing all these different cars and seeing how the seats move and all the different technology in the cars. So it was very different from what I see back home, much more advanced.
We had our robotic taxi tour.
So it was great.
The driverless taxi, so that's unique. We can't get that at home.
So experiences we've had today we don't have in Australia.
And the firm has served roughly 1,500 overseas tourists in the past year, with total clients projected to hit around 2,000 by late 2026.
Oh, the first thing is China is a huge jaw dropper for them. You have all these features. So for them, it's like, wow, it's just big wow. During busy time, is like we have clients every day.
At the beginning, we were focusing on welcoming customers, foreign customers to China. Later on, we focused more and more on business and technology. So that was a development, I would say. It was both from the customer side, so there were more and more demands for the tech tour. I think the trend will still continue to grow. I think it's a large enough market. I think there will be more and more people, especially after it's like a snowball. Our growth has been quite surprising growth. We have increased our revenue by 5 times between 2024 to 2025 and 2025 to 2026. Every year we're growing about 3 to 5 times our revenue.
With futuristic tech tours emerging as China's new calling card, major online travel giants including Flighty and Alibaba are poised to venture into tech tourism. China's tech-themed inbound tourism is set to capture a larger market share.
For more on China's inbound tourism and tech tourism, I want to bring in Du Jiayi, a research fellow at the Shanghai University of International Business and Economics. Jiayi, welcome to the program as always. So tech titan Elon Musk recently encouraging his followers to visit China, while his mother May Musk has also spoken positively about her travels to China as well. So, Jiayi, beyond this kind of high-profile word of mouth, what will it take for China to turn growing international curiosity, whether it's around technology, whether it's around culture, or simply everyday life, into really sustained growth when it comes to inbound tourism?
I would say that famous people fired the first shot. Their real contribution is making China travel a big thing to talk about worldwide. What also matters is volume. Thousands of ordinary international travelers posting their own footage. The metro, the food, the hotel room, the moment their payment app worked in China. Viewers watch those and think, okay, that person is like me, and I can go to China too. Then they will search more related information, such as visa and flight. If those answers are easy to find, many of them will start planning. That also matters for how we design our tourism products and experience. On history and culture, we already have a lot to offer. On technology, there's plenty to show as well. High-speed rail, EVs, drone shows, smart factories. And on ordinary life, that's where visitors get the clearest picture of this country. Whichever door someone comes through, there's something real waiting on the other side.
Right. So, Jiayi, I would say tech tourism is still relatively new compared with cultural, historical, or nature-based tourism. How much growth potential do you actually see in this particular segment of tech tourism? And what would it take for China to really turn it into a significant draw for international visitors?
I think the potential is really large. The assets are already here. The EV plants in Shanghai, the drone industry in Shenzhen, the quantum work in Hefei, the supply chain in Yiwu. But these days, if foreign visitors want to see any of it today, they generally need a personal connection or a business delegation or a travel agency to get in. So making it more convenient and bookable is the next step. It needs standard products with fixed time. English language guides who can explain what's happening, and a booking system that works with an overseas card. The other thing I would say is that the audience is much wider than people assume. Visitors could be engineers on a study tour, parents bring their children, content creators, and any international traveler who are curious about how this country runs day to day. So the demand is clearly here. Design it as an experience, and the market opens up.
Yeah, let me step back for a moment and take a look at the big picture, Jia, because technology is, as we know, increasingly seen as strategically sensitive around the world. So against this backdrop, how significant is China's willingness to open parts of its innovation ecosystem to international visitors?
I think the main reason is China's innovation lives in daily life. When international visitors land, they take a high-speed train, pay for lunch with a cold on the table, watch a drone drop off a package. That's a different kind of openness from a curated tour. Then when visitors get to walk through a factory, a smart warehouse, an EV assembly line, a design studio, they see the innovation and the supply chain that sits behind this product. How quickly a design becomes a physical thing here, how many supplies are within an hour's drive, and how the whole system fits together. So when we talk about showing the innovation ecosystem to international visitors, I'd say we are really showing them the society. Technology in China isn't confined to just a professional class or a few big cities. It has reached all the way down.
Okay, we are going to leave it there. Jia Yi, many thanks for your thoughts and perspectives. As always, that's Du Jia, Research Fellow at the Shanghai University of International Business and Economics. All right, a look now at other headlines we're tracking here. Across China, the central parity rate of the Chinese yuan strengthened 18 pips to 6.7882 against the U.S. dollar on Wednesday. That would be the highest level in 3.5 years. China's home-developed C919 jet launched its very first international commercial route on Wednesday. That route, connecting Beijing and Mongolia's capital of Ulaanbaatar, is operated by Air China. And data released by the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers shows new energy vehicle sales accounting for more than 60% in total auto sales for the month of July, the very first time in history. NEVs made up 53% of vehicle exports in July, the second straight month they have exceeded half of all shipments. Well, East China's Zhejiang province has long been known for its strong private sector economy and vibrant business environment. Now it's putting that market-driven approach to work in next-generation technology, helping to turn lab innovations into real-world products. Our reporter Wang Tianyu is there.
Here I am at the Embodied Intelligence Center in Hangzhou, where humanoid robots and robotic arms are all around. This is how Zhejiang province races ahead in next-generation tech, bringing AI from digital screen to the physical world. At this exhibition center, different companies are showcasing how these human-like machines are being tested and adapted for real-world scenarios. For many entrepreneurs, finding the right application is just as important as developing the technology itself. So how can innovation move beyond the laboratory and become real products? In Zhejiang, the answer lies in the close connection between technology developers and the market. Shining 3D is a Hangzhou-based company specializing in 3D scanning. After more than 20 years of development, its technology is now used in manufacturing, healthcare, and many other high-tech industries.
Sometimes you get a new technology, and you spend a lot of effort just figuring out where it fits. And even when the concept is brilliant, it often just doesn't connect in practice. That gap keeps showing up as we develop.
The company says it is entering a faster growth phase these years because the broader innovation environment has improved. Lower costs in computing, storage, and hardware are helping advanced technologies become more accessible and easier to commercialize. For some companies, Zhejiang's business environment is helping turn the province into a destination for expansion. Letri is a company providing semiconductor process equipment solutions. It has moved part of its operation from Shanghai to Shaoxing in Zhejiang to expand production capacity.
We received government support throughout the entire process, from registration in April 2025 to mass production in January 2026. Their assistance with every procedure helped us efficiently relocate production from Shanghai to Shaoxing and expand our manufacturing capacity.
This is also why Zhejiang has become a magnet for technology companies and talent. Here, innovation is not only driven by scientific breakthroughs, but also by market demand, creating a cycle where technology can be tested, improved, and scaled. Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Zhejiang Province.
And up next here on Global Business. The U.S. Energy Information Administration projects that some Middle East oil production will remain offline through next year due to the ongoing U.S.-Iran conflict.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Welcome back. Well, Iran's Supreme National Security Council says the Strait of Hormuz will stay closed unless Washington meets Tehran's conditions. The body's newly appointed Secretary Mohsen Rezai says the U.S. must end the war throughout the region, including over in Lebanon and Gaza, and must also release Iran's frozen assets. He laid out the conditions on Tuesday. That's one day after President Trump demanded that Iran pay compensation for 50 years of damage to Americans. Now, despite the deadlock, Pakistan has expressed hopes for peace. The mediating country's defense minister, Khawaja Asif, told Bloomberg on Tuesday that the U.S. and Iran might be closing in on a deal with the potential reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Interior Minister, Syed Muhsin Naqvi, is in Tehran for talks. Well, shipping disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz and attacks on energy infrastructure have forced regional producers to cut oil production. The U.S. Energy Information Administration predicts some Middle East oil output will stay shut all the way through the end of next year. The U.S. Department of Energy statistical arm says around 5.5 million barrels of oil were held back daily in July, and that's over 5% of global consumption. This year's Brent crude oil prices are expected to average over $86 a barrel. The agency also predicts about 600,000 barrels of oil will remain shut in per day through the end of 2027. That's even if trade patterns return to normal by early next year. Well, the prolonged U.S. conflict with Iran has kept energy prices elevated and disrupted global oil supplies. The Trump administration has turned to the country's emergency oil stockpile in an effort to ease that pressure. Our Jim Spellman has more from Washington.
There were about 415 million barrels of oil in the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve when President Trump began attacking Iran back in February. There are now fewer than 300 million barrels as the ongoing conflict continues to put stress on global oil supplies. In March, President Trump ordered the release of 172 million barrels from the reserve, hoping increased supplies would lower gas prices. Before the war, Brent crude was trading at about $70 a barrel. It has since peaked at well over $100 several times and has been trading between $80 and $90 a barrel in recent weeks. Elevated oil has driven up gas prices, rippling through the larger U.S. economy, creating a political liability for Republicans heading into congressional midterm elections. Trump says the pain is temporary.
As soon as this situation ends with Iran, oil is going to go down to the floor. Gasoline is going to go down. We may have to send it up again. We may have to, you know what happens when we send it up, but we hope we don't have to. But when that oil and gasoline go down, everything else follows.
But some experts warn that even if the war ends, the Strait of Hormuz is fully reopened and oil prices fall, it could take months for the price at the pump to come down, meaning U.S. voters may still be feeling the pinch as they head to the polls in November. When the current release is complete, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve will contain less than 250 million barrels. The minimum amount of oil required by the reserve is about 70 million. Jim Spellman, CGTN, Washington.
And the global energy crisis is putting farmers over in Austria under pressure. The Austrian government is responding with diesel subsidies worth over $100 million for agricultural and forestry machinery. Our Johannes Pleschberger has more from Vienna.
High diesel prices have forced Maria Trunner to reconsider her business decisions. 12 years ago, she took over her father's wheat and soybean farm. Back then, however, growing these machinery-intensive crops was far less expensive.
The extra costs you're facing now are enormous. A tractor like this one holds just over 200 liters of diesel, and that only lasts a full day of working when you're plowing.
Some relief is on the way. The government has introduced a subsidy of 18 US cents per liter for farmers, covering both this year and next year.
It's brilliant that the diesel subsidy is coming now. Otherwise, many farms wouldn't be able to find the cash to pay for the fuel before the harvest.
But there may not be much of a harvest after all. Over the past 6 months, many regions of Austria have experienced their driest conditions in 140 years.
Behind me, the drought has left its mark, with experts saying harvests could be down by as much as 30%. Add increased diesel and fertilizer costs, and farmers are saying their livelihoods are under threat.
I think this year has been an extremely difficult one. We're experiencing severe droughts, and of course we would have liked to see more financial support for farmers. But with tight budgets, we have to be grateful that we managed to secure any support at all.
Despite the diesel subsidy, the cost of running tractors remains too high for many farmers, prompting some to move away from wheat production and towards vegetable crops that require less machinery.
If there are alternative crops that require less use of the tractor, it might well be more financially viable.
But vegetables also require more rainfall, something that has been in short supply this year. Difficult times for farmers in Austria and across much of Europe. Johannes Pleschberger, CGTN, Vienna.
All right, a look now at the U.S. stock markets, where U.S. equities lost ground on Monday and Tuesday, dragged down by declines in the tech sector. However, big tech names led pre-market gains on Wednesday. Amid the mixed performances, Intel announced a $15 billion common stock offering on Monday to support surging customer demand for AI. Earlier on Tuesday, it said it had upsized the offering to $20 billion. Our correspondent Mitch McCann has more in New York.
In the last 6 months or so, Intel has really mounted what is an incredible comeback, a red-hot comeback, as you said, is very much the case. In fact, in that 6-month period, their stock has risen about 101% when I last looked in the last half an hour. So a real change in fortune for Intel on the back of what has been strong consumer demand for its products. It really feels like it wasn't that long ago that Intel was in some serious trouble. In late 2024, it was reported that Qualcomm was looking at acquiring parts of that business. That obviously didn't happen in the end, but then last year, Lip-Bu Tan, the chief executive of Intel, was under significant pressure to resign from Donald Trump until he actually met Donald Trump, and they got on quite well. And then the US government bought a 10% stake in the company, and then SoftBank and Nvidia had also invested. So plenty of investment to help Intel, but yes, strong consumer demand. So what's happened here is a stock offering of $15 billion on Monday is now a stock offering of $20 billion on Tuesday. So Intel very confident they are going to generate a significant amount of money out of this. It has been reported that they are trying to raise around $19.7 billion. They say that's going to be used for general corporate purposes, essentially meaning they can use it for whatever they want. It's expected they may use it to increase AI infrastructure in the company, which of course is something that many of these large tech companies are also doing.
And Nvidia has struck a deal with 6 large Wall Street firms to raise more than $500 billion to fund data centers, chip factories, and power stations. Those 6 companies include Apollo, BlackRock, Blackstone, Brookfield, Goldman Sachs, and KKR. NVIDIA's chief executive Jensen Huang calling the move, quote, a major milestone for NVIDIA and the AI industry. For more analysis on this AI infrastructure push, we spoke to Rob Niaz, founding partner of H-Tree Capital, a London-based technology venture capital firm, for more.
I think in this market, capital is everything. Raising capital to build these data centers, to build these hyperscalers is absolutely essential. And for NVIDIA, it's a way of raising capital in a non-dilutive way. So it doesn't dilute their value. It gives them additional pockets of capital. And they're really trying to reshape the narrative to get even more capital in beside the debt markets to get actual investable capital in from things like pensions. I think it's a warning sign. It creates moral hazard when you're marking up your own deals one after another and you're the beneficiary. It creates an artificial loop of what is the actual valuation without any external pricing. It sort of becomes magical money. So I think it is a worrisome thing when you see these things going in circles. It's getting shifted around, and what he's trying to do is shift the definition of risk from things like debt that are inherently more risky to now shifting it more to an asset class. So things like pensions, which normally are quite conservative, get access to things that are actually more risky. So it's a way of mixing the labels a bit and trying to double dip in a way and get high quality debt at a high quality asset rate. I think the question at what point does the demand start to slow down? Do we reach a point with the frontier models where the demand isn't quite so high? Right now, there's almost insatiable demand. At some point, we probably do hit a plateau where the demand starts to decline or at least flatten out. I think companies like Supermicro have already pre-briefed that the numbers are going to be good this quarter and up. But there's certainly early indicators we're looking out for to see are these things actually going to flatten out. I think, again, it's an arms race you're seeing right now. Companies like Google raised $10 billion from Berkshire Hathaway and others. You're seeing this big, defensible moat trying to be built that we think will be a generational level defensibility asset. So in this case, I think this is one of many things we'll see going on to build these intense amounts of compute power with a concept that those with the most compute power will win eventually.
And the Trump administration plans to exempt open-weight AI models from mandatory U.S. safety reviews. The move could inadvertently benefit China's rapidly advancing open-source labs like DeepSeek and Moonshot AI. Our Liu Jiaxin has more.
U.S. President Trump has called artificial intelligence competition the most critical contest in centuries. Yet his own administration is now carving out a surprising exemption in its new AI safety framework, one that applies directly to China's most powerful models. The U.S. federal government plans to subject only closed-source models to mandatory safety reviews, according to sources familiar with the top-level meeting at the White House on August 4th, as relayed by Western outlets. Open-weight models, those whose underlying parameters are publicly released, will escape scrutiny, even when they are developed by Chinese companies.
Myself, I have been subscribing just very recently to Kimi. Much of the weight models are open source models, so it really is an access for the entire community in the entire world.
Moonshot AI's Kimi K3 recently became the world's largest open-weight model. DeepSeek and other Chinese labs have delivered breakthrough after breakthrough, challenging the assumption that American firms hold an unassailable lead.
Open source and closed source models are technically on par. The performance difference can be made up in about 3 to 6 months. Closed source pricing is high today, but open source competition will drive it down, and that's a win for customers.
The industry has noticed. On July the 24th, an alliance of Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Hugging Face publicly backed open-weight architectures, effectively standing against safety advocates like Anthropic, who argue that unrestricted model release poses systematic risks. But there's the flaw in the risk argument. Closed models aren't actually any more secure than open ones.
The underlying frameworks of today's large models are pretty much out there, so attackers can hit open source or closed source alike.
In July, an OpenAI agent breached Hugging Face. The firm used China's GLM 5.2 to analyze the attack, because the attack commands had been blocked by frontier AI models' safety guardrails.
Even if you have one very successful and very rich company keeping things to themselves in a closed model, the world is too big that I think eventually the open development is just inevitable.
China consistently balances safety and development in its pragmatic and proactive AI policy. Experts say developing open models is more than a technical choice. It's a global tide, and it's already here. Liu Jiaxin, CGTN, Beijing.
It's still to come here on Global Business. It was a scorching July this year, so hot that the World Meteorological Organization says it tied for the second warmest July on record.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected, the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present to China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
All right, in other headlines we are tracking at this hour, investors are awaiting the release of U.S. monthly inflation data, which is out later today. Many expect stubbornly high oil prices to further push up consumer prices, leading to a Federal Reserve rate hike in September. Google's artificial intelligence assistant Gemini has hit 1 billion monthly users, becoming the company's fastest growing product ever, according to CEO Sundar Pichai. And the United Nations Labor Agency says the global unemployment rate for people aged 15 to 24 rose to 12.4% in 2025, marking the first widespread job market deterioration for young people since COVID. Well, the World Meteorological Organization says the world has seen its joint second warmest July on record. That's as extreme heat, persistent drought, and wildfires affected large parts of the northern hemisphere. The WMO says the global average surface air temperature in July was 1.47 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average for the years 1850 to 1900. And that tied with July of 2024 and was only cooler than July 2023. Western Europe experienced its hottest June to July period on record, with extreme heat raging all the way into August. Exceptionally low rainfall and soil moisture have been reported over in France, in Spain, parts of Germany and Britain, as well as areas further east. The dry conditions have taken a heavy toll on ecosystems and agriculture, disrupted transport and energy production, and increased the risk of wildfires. Well, with half of France on amber heat alert, the country is rethinking ways to keep cool. And after a string of brutal heat waves, attitudes are shifting as France faces a new climate reality that many say it's simply not prepared for. Our Sarah Coates has more from Paris.
For generations, French homes were designed to keep the cold out, not the heat. But this summer, temperatures have soared, with many people saying they simply aren't coping.
It was really intense. I used to live on a third-floor apartment, but I bought the 6th floor just under the zinc roof. I never thought that we would have heat waves as intense and that went for so many days.
Like thousands of people in Paris, Mira lives right under one of the city's iconic zinc rooftops. Despite insulating the apartment, she says it was still unbearably hot during the latest heat wave. Now, she's thinking about something she never thought she would.
I've never considered air conditioning, but I am, for the first time in my life, considering it. I think it's going to be a necessity to stay in this apartment.
For years, French people saw air conditioning as unnecessary, with concerns over their environmental impact, keeping demand low. But after repeated heat waves, climate scientists say that attitude is quickly changing.
One has to say that for years, those units were not considered as necessary in France. That was a kind of superfluous luxury equipment that you would use 2-3 days a year.
But experts believe air conditioning alone isn't the answer. These kind of temperatures were once considered exceptional, but now they're becoming a regular feature of French summers, forcing the country to rethink not just how it responds to heat waves, but how it prepares for them. Adapting to rising temperatures will require much broader changes, from the way homes are renovated to how entire cities are designed.
Regarding the buildings, regarding the city itself, we will need to have more trees, we will need to have more public swimming pools as well. Some of the work schedules will need to be adapted, and potentially, one can even ask, is it a good idea to have end of the year exam in the month of June in school, which is one of the hottest months of the year?
But making those changes will take time and money.
The economy, the city was conceived for a climate that no longer exists, and which means that a lot of things will need considerable investment. And the difficulty, obviously, is that the government has no money, the city has no money, and therefore we always run the risk of taking emergency measures, whereas what we need would be long-term measures to adapt.
As France braces for the rest of summer, the challenge now is becoming less about getting through the next heat wave and more about preparing for the ones still to come. Sarah Coates, CGTN, Paris.
And Indian farmers in the state of Telangana, one of the country's largest rice-producing states, are taking measures to mitigate the risks of drought. Arvinder Bawa has more.
For generations, Sudarshan and his family have cultivated rice in the southern Indian state of Telangana. This year, he has made a shift from paddy to millet as warnings of low monsoon came early. The government urged farmers to move away from water-intensive rice to short-duration and drought-tolerant varieties.
We attended a government session on sowing crops like millet for better understanding. They explained how it works and how it should be done. We decided to give it a try.
As a part of contingency plan, the government reached out to farmers, informing them about effects of El Nino, the natural Pacific weather pattern that raises global temperatures, the status of reservoir storage and water availability was made public to help farmers make informed decisions.
We are discussing with the scientists.
We are discussing with scientists on which crops are suitable for managing the impacts of El Nino. We are encouraging farmers to sow these crops.
Not just now, but in the coming years, people will shift from rice to millet. They will start cultivating sorghum and pulses. We are also creating awareness.
But for farmers like M. Ganesh, the advice was not enough to make a switch. Unlike paddy, many of the alternative crops do not come with the assured government support price, making it a difficult choice.
If we cultivate green gram, sorghum or maize, there is no subsidy. So far, the government has not provided us with any support.
The solution is with these tribal women farmers known as seed protectors. Over the years, they have saved about 100 varieties of seeds. In this year of El Nino, they are playing the role of mentor and guides to those farmers who are willing to diversify and grow climate-resistant crops.
I helped about 20 people. I gave them seeds and taught them how to save and protect their seeds.
Since 2023, the government has actively promoted millets as a superfood, driving growing demand for the grains across urban India. Female farmers like these are increasingly turning to millets as a sustainable alternative to water-intensive crops such as rice. According to the World Food Programme, a powerful El Nino could push nearly about 49 million people across vulnerable regions of the world to food insecurity by next year. The contingency plans rolled out by India are not just to address the farmers' risk of crop losses, but also to ensure India's food security. Ravinder Baba, CGTN, Telangana.
And that's going to wrap up this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Coming up next is The World Today with Li Chuyuan.